Welcome everybody back to Uncle Jay's Trading Card Garage. It is Uncle Jay with you here, and today we're going to be going over a deck from the Final Fantasy TCG called Manakins. This is a Manakins deck. The way this deck works is if you've played Dragon Ball, it's very similar in the idea of Agents of Destruction. You have cards in here that pretty much when played, you're able to play the other cards without paying their specified cost. So you're able to charge or get rid of cards to play these mannequins even if they don't have the same element. So I'm going to show the deck profile and then I'm going to also show the kind of fun variation of the deck for you to try. So to start us off, you have we're gonna run the boss monster of the deck is 3 X-Death. So X-Death is whenever you play him, you are able to play a mannequin from your hand without paying its cost. And what makes him so good is, as you'll see soon, the backups that we play make it to where we can play him for much cheaper than 6. Because whenever you have 2 backups in play, you can play him for 4. Like it's really cool, and it requires a specific backup. But that's pretty much what we run. So then we get into our searcher of the deck, 3 Delusory Knight. Whenever he's played, you can search for any job mannequin other than himself. So we'll talk a little bit about the combination with him as we get further in. Then we play 3 Counterfeit Wraith, 3 Imaginary Soldier, and 3 Counterfeit Youth. So really we're playing all of the new OPUS XIII mannequins. With Counterfeit Wraith, when played, she's a 4-drop ice, but because of the backup Lady of Antiquity, which we'll talk about later, it's not going to matter. We're going to be able to play her. Whenever she's played, your opponent chooses one of the cards that they have and breaks it. So if they only have one, they can only choose one card, and therefore you break it. So if you're playing against decks that are slow and build off of like one boss monster or things like that, it's or even Braska, because you don't choose, the opponent ends up like choosing Braska, so like his effect doesn't go off. And even if it does go off, he's dying, and if this is the only card on, it's okay, because you're gonna end up being able to potentially bring her back from the drop area into your hand and potentially play her again. So it's really not a bad loss. And then Imaginary Soldier, when he's played, you deal 1,000 damage per mannequin that's on the field, so he's really, really strong. And then Counterfeit Youth, when Counterfeit Youth is in play, if you have 4 job mannequins, including himself, he gains haste and 3k, so he becomes an 8k beater, and he's just super strong. Great pressure to apply. Now that is our Manakins forward lineup. Now we're going to go into kind of our tech forwards lineup. So we run 3 Alua, 3 Jake, an Alba, and a Kate Sith. The Alua is from OPUS 5. The Jake is from OPUS 13, I believe. And Alba is from OPUS 12, and Kate Sith is from OPUS 1. What makes these cards so good is they help apply our pressure. So Jake is a board clear. He's going to end up dealing 6k. If you tap him with the 2 backups that we're going to have a lightning backup. We have 3 lightning backups and 7 earth backups, but we'll talk about that later. But he ends up dealing 6k damage, which is going to be a good chunk of damage. With Alua, she comes in with haste, and we're running 3 because of her special. Whenever we go in late game and we're swinging with all of our cards and we're doing as much as we can, we'll have Alua on the field, and whenever we pitch another Alua for her special, we can activate all the forwards again, and they get to attack another time and deal 2k damage. Well, all of their forwards lose 2k power until the end of the turn. which is super, like, just very vital. And then Alba, whenever she enters the field, you can stop, like, you can take a card out of your opponent's break zone and remove it from the game, which is just super beneficial. And she can also do that when she swings. And so, let's say, like, turn 1 or turn 2, they've already played, like, a summon or even a character. You can play her and then remove a summon from the game. She gains haste. You can swing, remove a character from play. She gets 8k. So, like, every time you swing or do anything with her, the opponent loses a card from their break zone. So they can't use recursion. Like, they can't bring it back. And then Kate Sith is just a good, like, late game. If they have, like, a big body on board that, like, we really can't get over, we just dull it for 1. It's super simple. And so that rounds out our lightning forwards. Our earth forwards consist of the OPUS XIII Cecil. Good EX burst ability. Whenever he comes into play, you can choose a dull forward as long as it is less than or equal to the life that you have. You can break it, and you can use its ability to do a similar effect. And then we have Suzuhiza. He's just nice to, like, if, you play him for 1, auto abilities trigger. Every opponent, like, everybody's going to have auto abilities. So you just put him in the break zone and you draw 2. And it's just a really nice card to kind of help search for stuff if you need it. And then we have Graham, which when Graham is input from the field into the break zone, choose 1 forward opponent controls. If you have received 4 points or more damage, you can break it, which, like, is great for late game. Definitely when you're swinging in. If you're swinging in with Graham and y'all are both pretty tit for tat, they're gonna have to block it and kill it potentially, and that's just gonna be really good. And then Cecil, who if when you play Cecil, you can take a damage, and Cecil and a target of your choice fights. But if you're at damage 3, Cecil gains 1k in Brave, which is really nice because there's a lot of cards that are 7k that Cecil would trade with, but at damage 3, which, if I know correctly, you can put yourself at damage 3, making it an 8k for whenever whenever they fight each other, which is really, really powerful. And so that rounds out the earth forwards. And now we are going to get into our backup line. With the backup line, it's very simple. We're running 3 Delusory Warlock and 3 Lady of Antiquity. And we're running a couple more backups, but these are the main ones. Because, so, Delusory Warlock is the backup lightning version of Delusory Knight, but he costs 3. When Delusory Warlock is played, you're able to search for a job Mannequin that is not lightning. And then with Lady of Antiquity, when you play Lady of Antiquity, all job Mannequins can be played without paying a specified cost. So I could play Imaginary Soldier by pitching Cecil if I wanted to, or by tapping 1 Delusory Warlock and 1 Lady of Antiquity. I can play Counterfeit Youth that way. I can play Imaginary Soldier that way. I can play any job Mannequins without paying the actual elemental cost, which is really, really nice. Also, when these are played, your X-Def, the cost required to play him is reduced by 1. So if you have 2 or 3 of these out here, he becomes a 3 cost or a 4 cost or even a 2 cost. And depending on how you're playing and depending on your matchup, you may not want to use any of the other backups, and therefore you can just straight up play it's a spider. Sweet. Sorry, spider. Anyway, sorry, spider. RIP in the chat for the spider. But whenever, like, you may just play five of these guys, and then you can literally just tap one, play him for free, or play him for one, play the Illusory Knight for free, find something, and then you still have 4 open. And so it's just really nuts. And then to finish out the backup line, we run 1 Shantoto and we run 3 Tyro. We run the Tyro for a couple of reasons. If we can't happen to find X-Death, we really want to find him. And also we run, which is going to get us into the summons portion of this, which is we run 3 Cuchulains. And the reason why we run Cuchulain is really the EX burst is just super good, because you choose a forward, it loses its abilities until the end of the turn, and you draw a card for it. So if you get attacked, the ability pops off. It's just really, really good. And then and Tyro allows you to play that, because Tyro produces any CP, and so does Shantoto. With Q-Sith, well, not with Q-Sith, our next summon is Q-Sith, which is just super awesome. 2-drop, choose a forward or backup from your break zone and add it to your hand. It's just great for recursion, making sure that we can get the plays that we need. If we don't have an X-Death, or if all of our X-Deaths have died, we can get him back and play him. And then we run 2 Alexander. Alexander is just super good. Choose a forward you control, and then up to 1 forward an opponent controls. Until the end of the turn, the former gains 3k power, and this forward cannot become dulled by your opponent's summons or abilities. And if I've received 5 points of damage or more, you deal the latter damage equal to the highest power forward you control. And we get some pretty hefty forwards. With X-Death, he gains plus 1k for each job Mannequin on the field, which if you have 4 or 5 backups, he immediately is going to be a 13k. So he gets super, super beefy, and he's going to pretty much kill anything with Alexander. Definitely considering he gives him a 3k buff. So it's just really, really strong. And then we run 1 Odin and 1 Adramalik. Adramalik is really good just early, because he's a 1, like he's literally, you pay 1 and you deal 6 to 9k damage depending on how much life you're at. And then with Odin, if we've received 5 damage, it becomes like he breaks anything at 5 or less. And so he's just really, really, really strong. And so that is this initial deck profile. If you stayed all the way, the little fun, spicy subs that you can do, well, not spicy subs, we're going to talk about a different variant of this deck here in just a minute. But I want to talk to you about plays and why I decided to make this deck the way that I did. And so the main thing about this deck, it is pretty consistent in comparison to the spicy fun version that I'm going to show you. But the spicy fun version has a really high ceiling. But with this deck, you have multiple choices and multiple ways in which you can get out these cards. And so if you don't happen to get this card in your hand first turn, hopefully you have this one in your hand. And because of how many lightning forwards we run, we're able to pitch, and because we have so many earth cards, hopefully you're going to end up with an earth card in your hand, which usually you will, and you will end up with a lightning card in your hand. And so you're able to pitch a lightning card, and you can go ahead and play the Illusory Warlock to then search for this and get her out immediately. Because that is the biggest problem that I have found with a lot of other variations of this deck. It is really, really hard to color correct in this game. And so now to go into the spicy little fun deck that I've had is Archfiend Manakins. And so we don't have the Opus I Golbez, so I'm just using a little proxy. But use Opus I Golbez and the Opus XIII Golbez, along with, you run 3 of those and 3 of those. You run pretty much the Manakin package with like no summons. You just run Kusith, or you run Mist Dragon if you want to. And then you run the same backup line, but you don't run any of these. You may run the Suzuhizas if you want to, but you're pretty much going to be running straight Manakins and Archfiends, and there's a reason why it's fun. Like, it's not nearly as consistent, but you run the 3 of all the Archfiends, so 3 Cagnazzo, 3 Scarmiglione, 3 Rubicantes, and 3 Barbaricias. And then you run 3 Magic Pot to be able to pop your Golbez and then get out this Golbez, to pop your Opus I Golbez and then to get out your Opus XIII Golbez. And then we run a Cane and a Shadow Lord. Because whenever you bring out your Opus I Golbez and you kill it with Magic Pot, Opus I Golbez allows you to play 4 2-drops from your deck, but they all have to be different colors. So the first thing you do is you play Cagnazzo. And then whenever the other cards enter the field, because all of their effects, all of their auto abilities are negated. So they come in without their auto abilities being triggered. And then Cagnazzo's auto ability happens when other people enter the field, so his ability will not be negated. And so you'll play him, and you'll want to play, for me, my go-to, it would be Counterfeit Youth, Cane, and Shadow Lord. So those are the 4 that you would play off of breaking Golbez. And since you're breaking him with Magic Pot, you'll play the Opus XIII Golbez, which would then allow you to search an Archfiend and put it into your hand. If you're at 6 damage, when you play the Opus XIII Golbez, you get to search 4 2-drops and add them to your hand, and then play all the job Archfiends that are not on the field from your hand that you have. So if you have you can search for Skarm, you can search for Rubicante, and you can search for Barbaricia, and then you're able to play all of that at the same time. And it's just it's just atrocious. It's an atrocious play, which makes a lot of sense as to why it is much more inconsistent. And so if you want something that is super risk it for the biscuit, Manakins Archfiends is super fun and does a lot of cool stuff and allows you to really mesh both decks, but it's super inconsistent, which is why I decided to start this video off with what I feel is the more consistent version to play this deck, and is still super, super good. So if you liked what you saw, or if you didn't, still leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down based off however you felt, and leave a comment, anything you would fix, anything you would change. Please just talk about it, have fun, and most importantly, stay safe, keep playing TCGs. Uncle Jay out.